A lioness lay half awake, her body curled protectively around 3 tiny cubs. Her name was Naya, a name passed down through a matriarchal line known for its fierce mothers and indomitable spirit. Naya was young for a lioness to be a mother, just 5 years into her life. Yet she had weathered enough droughts, rival prides, and hunts gone wrong to know the dangers the wild held. Her cubs, new to the world, were no bigger than a human's forearm, still nursing, still blind to the chaos that surrounded them. Their fur was downy and spotted faintly, a camouflage gifted by nature itself. They mewed softly as they stretched and rolled against her warm belly. Naya's mate, Kovu, had left the area days earlier to patrol their shrinking territory. A lone male would not usually stray far with cubs so small, but times were hard. The pride had recently split after a deadly clash with an invading group of males, leaving Naya to fend for herself until Kovu returned. It was a harsh gamble. Either protect her young and risk hunger, or leave them hidden to hunt and expose them to lurking predators. She chose to stay. That morning, the sky above was clear, painted with streaks of purple clouds retreating into the horizon. It was the kind of serene morning that could fool even the most seasoned predator into relaxing. But Naya's instincts would not allow her to rest fully. Every few minutes, her ears flicked toward a distant rustle or the faint shift in grass. Her amber eyes scanned the terrain, always alert. She had seen too much to ever truly feel safe. The real danger, however, was not coming from the open plains. It was creeping beneath the shrubs, sliding through the dust with silent, fluid menace. A family of African rock pythons, thick-bodied and strong enough to kill prey many times their size, had caught the scent of something warm, something vulnerable. Drawn by the body heat of the cubs and their subtle, high-pitched noises, the serpent slithered closer to the den site. These pythons were no strangers to the art of ambush. Their bodies moved in perfect silence, hidden from sight under dry brush and cracked earth. One python, the largest of the group, easily over 15 feet long, took the lead. Its tongue flicked in and out, sensing vibrations and warmth. It knew there was prey nearby, prey that could not run, that could not defend itself. Inside the den, Naya stirred. Something was wrong. A subtle shift in the wind brought an unfamiliar scent to her nostrils. Earthy, reptilian, with a faint touch of decay. Her body stiffened. Slowly, carefully, she lifted her head, scanning the bushline again. The cubs, unaware, continued to shift and whimper softly against her. Then came the moment that shattered the stillness. A high-pitched squeal erupted from the youngest cub, a soft, startled sound as something cold and smooth brushed against its paw. Naya's eyes widened. She leapt to her feet in a heartbeat, knocking dust into the air as her paws hit the earth. She turned her head and froze. There, no more than a few strides away, coiled and ready to strike, was the python. Its eyes met hers. There was no fear, just hunger. Naya let out a low growl, her muscles tense, claws already extending from her massive paws. But what she saw next made her blood run cold. There were more of them. At least 3 other serpents were visible now, each weaving to the low grasses, surrounding the den like silent sentinels of death. They had no interest in her. Not yet. Their eyes were on the cubs. With a roar that cracked the morning air like thunder, Naya lunged. She struck the lead python with such force that it recoiled, its head smashing into a stone. Dust flew as she landed, snarling with fury. The second snake moved swiftly, attempting to circle behind her. It lunged, its body wrapping partially around her rear leg. But Naya twisted sharply, her jaws locking onto its neck. She bit down hard. There was a sickening crunch as vertebrae gave way. Yet, even in victory, she was losing ground. The third python had reached the edge of the den. It was mere inches from the cubs now, and its body was already beginning to curl around the entrance, cutting off escape. Naya roared again, this time in desperation, a call that echoed across the savannah. Her body slammed against the third python's coil, tearing into its flesh with claws sharpened by years of survival. Blood splattered across her coat. The python hissed and snapped, lashing out with its tail, hitting her ribs hard enough to knock the wind out of her lungs. She staggered but didn't fall. With heaving breaths, she pushed forward, placing herself directly between the den and the advancing snakes. Her body, already bloodied and scratched, became a living wall, a lioness of fire and fury. Her eyes burned with something ancient, something primal. This was not just a fight for survival. This was a mother's war. One of the cubs, sensing the chaos, let out a frightened squeak. Naya turned her head just for a second, and in that second a fourth python lunged. It struck her side with brutal speed, teeth scraping across her shoulder. She roared, biting it back with wild force. The python coiled around her, trying to crush her ribs, but Naya thrashed violently, slamming her weight against the rock wall of the den. Dust and debris rained down. The battle was spiraling out of control. Naya was alone, and her energy was fading. Then, through the blood, the dust, the noise, she heard something. A distant roar. Another lion. Kovu. He arrived like a storm, his mane bristling, muscles taut with rage. The ground trembled under his charge. With a deafening growl, he leapt onto the largest python, sinking his fangs into its midsection. The snake writhed, twisting and hissing in agony. Together, the two lions fought as one. Kovu tore into the attackers with unmatched ferocity, while Naya shielded her cubs, striking out at anything that dared approach. The battle seemed to last forever, a whirlwind of fury and instinct. Finally, the surviving pythons began to retreat, wounded and disoriented. They slid back into the grasses, defeated. Silence fell. The ground was littered with blood, broken scales, tufts of fur. Naya stood swaying, her body aching, her flanks torn. Kovu, breathing heavily, nudged her gently. She looked up at him, her eyes filled with pain, but also gratitude. She turned to her cubs, who were huddled together, wide-eyed and trembling. With the last of her strength, she limped over and lowered her head, gently licking each of them in turn. They were safe. The threat had passed. But the story of what happened that day would not fade with the dust. The tale of the lioness who stood alone, wounded but unyielding, against one of nature's most cunning predators would echo across the plains. Her courage would become legend, not just among her kind, but in the whispers of the wind, the rustle of leaves, and the shadows of the wild. Naya had not simply defended her cubs. She had reminded the world what a mother's love could truly withstand. Backhand index pointing right if this story touched your heart. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts below. Hit the bell icon to never miss more powerful stories from the wild that show courage, love, and survival like never before. Lion Face Red Heart, share this with someone who needs to believe in the strength of a mother's love.